Good evening all and salam alaikum. Welcome to our first secondary information evening for 2021. I'd like to welcome everybody. And before we start, I would like to welcome you to country, and I'd like to pay our respects to the indigenous people, the Wurundjeri people, on whose land we are presently, and we pay respects to elders both past, present, and emerging. We'd like to begin our session this evening with a Quran recitation from Sheikh Abdul Rahman.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم قال يا آدم أنبئهم بأسمائهم فلما أنبأهم بأسمائهم قال ألم أقل لكم إني أعلم غيب السماوات والأرض وأعلم ما تبدون وما كنتم تكتمون صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you, Sheikh Abdul Rahman, for that. And welcome everybody welcome to our Parent-Teacher Information Night for 2021. Thank you for joining us, and we'd really welcome you and hope more of you join as we go along. Just a few housekeeping matters before we get into it. There is a panel, and you can use the chat feature on the webinar to ask questions on anything that you may have heard or anything you want to know about the college. We have our heads of learning who will be there to respond to you. Just as a matter of information as well, this webinar is being recorded and it will be published on our website for those who may have missed today's webinar. I also like to inform you that we do have a specific VCE information night coming up. So those specific questions regarding VCE can be brought up in that forum. Today it's very much general from 7 to 12. And with that, I would like to hand over to Mr. Fazil, who will take you through the first part of this program.
Thank you very much, uh, Mr. Vis. Mr. Vis, would you like me to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome to our information evening um, today. And I'll just start off by mentioning that our journey as a school has taken us into our 13th year of teaching and learning. MashaAllah, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has been a wonderful journey. And we recognize and make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all that has happened. But at the same time, we also look towards His mercy and ask Him to continuously improve. You know, we're a very reflective community. We understand that everything that we're doing is a process. And, you know, we're constantly reflecting. And inshallah, you'll get to hear about some of the new things that we've introduced this year when Mr. Ahad speaks to you, and that's you know, a result of our reflection, and also the feedback that we receive from our parents, and also our most you know, the community that we serve, and that is our students. It's pertinent at this point to mention and remind ourselves as to who we are. Everything has a foundation, and Al Siraat is based on a few foundations as well. We're based on the foundation of good expectations, you know, expecting good from people, having high expectations. You know, our DNA is founded on perseverance, not giving up, you know, challenging norms, pushing boundaries, coming up with solutions, you know, when we can't think of any. And most of all, our foundation is based on learning and akhlaq. The name As-Sirat actually is the journey from ta'aleem to akhlaq. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent as a muallim. I've been sent as a muallim. And he also mentioned more or less to the meaning that I've been sent for the beautification, the completion of akhlaq. So the best teacher is also the best murabbi, the best mu'addib, you know, also the best in showing us, you know, what the exemplary human being should be like. So just like there's a bird with two wings, our two wings are learning and akhlaq, and that's what we're about. And as we go through our journey, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word nur and light in many ways, siraj and munira, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is like a shining lamp. You know, you know, the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlightens people. So we see our job as enlightening ourselves and enlightening our students with learning and character. At the end of the day, we want to be a wonderful factory that produces students of learning and akhlaq. And and our destination is that, you know, we take the two big faculties that Allah has given us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given human beings the capacity to think and also the capacity to act. We're very limited in our actions. You know, we can only live in Australia at one point in time. We only have a certain life. We only have 24 hours in a day. But through the capacity of thinking, then man can even go beyond the borders of countries. They can go beyond the border of planets, and they can go beyond the border of their lifetime. So, we're a community that is always looking at towards ourselves. You know, like the pebble in the pond. You know, it starts with me. How can I change myself, so that I can, you know, how can I change the way that I think and act, so that others will be inspired. And we don't need to be a president. We don't need to be a prime minister or a rich person to be inspiring to others. You know, just a person who acts kindly on a bus and gets up, you know, to give an elderly person their seat can be an inspiration for a person who's just sitting and looking at the corner of looking out the corner of the eye. It's these simple people that are often the most inspiring in the world. And as part of our strategic review, we've also updated our values We value living Islam. That's what we're founded on. We value real life learning. Providing students with authentic learning experiences. We value being responsible citizens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا, that the servants of the merciful one, they walk the earth softly. Just imagine if everybody walked the earth softly. They were responsible people. There wouldn't be accidents, there wouldn't be scuffles, there wouldn't, be conflicts, because everybody was being responsible. And we value respectful relationships, which is the heart of a learning community. And most of all, our foundation, it starts with me. At the end of the day, this is my work. This is my job. You know, um, you know, um, Before I expect for others to behave well, what about me? Before I expect others to be punctual, what about me? Whatever I want to see, it needs to start with me. So we've updated our values into practical values that we can embed into the life of our school community. As a school, we've grown, mashallah. We're over 1,000 students this year, from 80 students in 2009. We have about 700 in secondary and over 300, sorry, over 700, about 700 in primary and over 300 in secondary. We keep growing. We had that little dip in 2019, which we actually made an effort to slow down the growth of the school. And since then, we've actually been a lot more, we've been much more careful in growing our school. Our focus now is not on quantity. We're growing because we have numbers coming through, but we're actually taking very, very few new students on board. In fact, if you have a look, there's only a handful of new students in secondary. Other than foundation, there's very, very few new students coming into our school. But we have taken on 112 new foundation students. And at the other end, we only have about 20 students graduating. So just by virtue of that, we increase our school community by about 80, 90 students a year. Last year, we had a theme of better together. You might remember this picture of the humble broomstick. And, if you're wondering what this is about, it's when all these sticks come together that makes this something useful. If one stick was to say, look, I'm big and strong, I'm better than the rest, I can do this on my own, we all know that it wouldn't work. And this year, our theme is around shukr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the one who makes shukr, of the ni'mah that Allah has given, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies their ni'mah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases their ni'mah. If we look around, we have so much to be thankful for. And a thankful person is a happy person because they're always seeing what they have. They don't look at what they don't have, and it creates that contentment in the heart. So alhamdulillah, we're very, very thankful for the wonderful community, the wonderful students, the wonderful parents, the wonderful community that we have, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has looked after us and protected us. MashaAllah, if you come for salah every day at the masjid, you'll see more than 100 people that come and pray together. This is all from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mr. Vce, I'll hand over to yourself.
Thank you.
Would you like to share your screen, Mr. Vce, or would you like me to continue?
I think I'm sharing now. Yeah, I've taken it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fazil, for that quick rundown of how the school operates and so on, and what our values are and our vision for the year. Now, in secondary, we have a few new staff this year, not many, but a few new. And I must add that these new staff members were not hired because we had lost staff members, but it's just that we've grown and we've added more quality to our staff. And we have Ms. Sarah Adela, who has joined the Humanities Department, Ms. Tata Nimak, who is in English, Ms. Wendy Rawson, who is in English and in Humanities, Dale Khan is in maths, Amna Rain in science, and Kamal Mahmood is our new lab tech. So they have joined our school this year, and we wish them all the best. And I'm sure they will be of much benefit to the college. Just to give you an overview of the senior leadership team uh, and where things stand in terms of leadership at the school. Just for you to have just quickly have a look at this, and we fall in the head of the secondary years of where we are focusing today. But just as information, the Director of Islamic Education is Mufti Asim Rashid, and this is where all religious part of the school's processes will be handled. Director of Learning and Innovation, Ms. Rahat, Director of Teacher Practice, Ms. Ezra, Head of Learning Enrichment, Ms. Shaida Osman, um, and then we've got IT, which is Mr. Shazad, Head of Sites, Mr. Salman Khan, and Operations, Ms. Leah, and Head of Digital Learning, which has really grown in the last year since we had a lockdown after when COVID took hold. We have Mr. Sufyan in that field. And Head of Primary, Ms. Sama. And moving on to the secondary itself, and this is what will be of interest to you. And here, this is where you can also direct your queries as well, should you have any, in terms of how it's structured in every department. These are our heads of learning. And if you go around from English, humanities, arts and technologies, science, maths, physical education, Arabic, LEAP and learning enrichment, Islamic studies, and Quran, you'll see that all of these personnel in school will play a vital role in keeping our secondary school running smoothly. So now we come to the most interesting part of our this evening's presentation, and that is the actual nitty-gritty and workings of the secondary school. And perhaps what's most important to you is what's new in 2021. How different are we this year than we were last year, and why are we changing? Why are we so different to the way we were last year? And in this part of the program, I'll hand over to Ms. Rahat.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Mr. Vis, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well, thank you.
Excellent. Well, welcome to everyone. Thank you for taking out the time for this information evening, which is really, really important in terms of engagement between the parents and the partnership that we actually share with you with educating these children. And like Mr. Vis mentioned, there's a number of new initiatives that are being rolled out this year. And a lot of them have come about as a result of some of the learnings we took away from last year. We certainly hope this year we have more of a normal school year. It was quite challenging in terms of educating our students remotely. However, in secondary, I believe they fared a lot better than students in other situations. They had their own one-to-one devices. We were able to set up the digital learning platforms. Mr. Sufyan and his team worked quite hard and quickly to make sure we had the platform set up, and we'll talk about that in a little moment. But there are a lot of takeaways from last year. And in particular, some of the surveys that we ran for the students gave us insight in terms of some things that we could be doing a little bit differently, some things that we could consider adding, and some things that we thought were not as much value added. And these things have led into all of the things that you can see on the screen in front of you in terms of what's changed for this year. Similar to what happened around the world, parents found themselves in quite a unique situation last year, where learning became a lot more transparent for many. And I think it actually gave us a really good insight into our students and some of the ways that they learn. And whilst it was beneficial for many of our students to stay connected, and however, there were some downsides as well. We found that motivation for some of our students did dip. And so we can see that in terms of when we were looking at the results. And in fact, we made a strategic decision towards the end of last year. Given all that had occurred, we actually replaced exams for some of our year levels with assessments that still gave us a good idea and the students a good idea of where they were, but it gave us some more teaching time back. Some of the other ways that we gathered information leading up to these changes this year was through our webinars. We found that the participation level particularly with secondary families, it increased exponentially when we did have online options available. And so there's some things that we will continue to explore this year as well, inshallah. Particularly with the parent-teacher conferences, I think you would all be aware that how that, if for those of you that were with us last year, how important that was to continue to stay connected and let you know how your child's education is going. So in terms of the day structure, we have, you can see there's the Monday to Thursday as we had before, the change being 5 minutes later in, which is not a big significant change, but we've actually added in more periods. And one significant thing that we've done is to add a 5-minute buffer between each period as well. And this was based on, again, allowing students to feel more ready to learn rather than rushing from one class to another. So it just gives that flow time. And on Friday, we finish at 2 o'clock instead of 2:15, again, based on the length of each period. And the structure has actually allowed us to use our site much better. Our recess and lunch is now staggered so that primary and secondary are out at different times. This has really, I think, allowed our secondary students to use the spaces in a more functional way for them. And likewise for the primary as well, they've got more space during those break times. So I think in terms of just the overall feel of the school, we found that it feels a lot more settled. So that's one of the advantages of the day structure. So again, it's based on the feedback in terms of just that the well-being side of things. The LEAP program, some of you may have heard about. It is actually a program designed to allow students who are advanced in their academics to work much faster through the curriculum and also at a deeper level. And the coordinator for this is Ms. Shahida. So she's leading the charge in terms of the application process. So we have that happening in September. Inshallah, there is a formal assessment that students sit. And she's also co-designing the actual educational program with the heads of learning and the teachers. We're really, really excited because we're inshallah hoping to pilot an inquiry approach as well with these students. And likewise, I believe these students are quite happy and excited to be in this program as well. Within the structure of the program, it is designed only for year 7 to 9. By the time they get to year 10, students have a variety of electives and VC offerings that they then go into. The tutoring program, we have received a government grant to effectively design a program that will, inshallah, meet the needs of some of our students that were disadvantaged through COVID, which pretty much sums up almost all of them. I don't know who was advantaged by having COVID, but it is still being, it's still under construction. And Ms. Fatima is looking after that in the secondary school. But at the moment, what we are considering is potentially an an after school setup on a 4 to 5 day cycle in the week with the homework club attached to it as well. So both of them, the idea behind that is we found that particularly with homework, if they have access to someone that can help them and also to help them stay focused, it can save a lot of time working alone at home. So we're really looking forward to that. The numeracy intervention, because we've changed the format of the day, we've managed to get an extra period here or there. You might be thinking, well, what's one extra period? Well, we can do a lot with that. In fact, with the redesign, we've managed to get in the numeracy intervention. We've managed to get in the co-curricular clubs, personal development. There's a number of things we were actually able to add in that help to not only for the academics of our students, but also their mental health and well-being as well. Our clubs and co-curricular program is due to start from next week. For those of you in year 7 who've got children in year 7, you would have received a program booklet. And parents from year 8 to 10, you can speak to your child. They would have received an email as well. I'm having a bit of a club expo tomorrow, so please have a chat to your children about that, about what could be some clubs that you might want to explore for this semester. The personal development program is interesting because for some time we have been speaking about taking time to have our students develop the skills they need to become better learners, to have the skills they need to become independent in their learning as well. So the program is designed to enhance their ability to become more organized, their ability to process the work, the information, and to learn about themselves. And really, it feeds in quite nicely with our vision for our graduates. When we have our students finishing up, it's not just about the numbers. We want our students to do really well, obviously, but it's about the whole child, the development of the whole child. And it's really important for us to ensure that we cover aspects of that would lead to their lifelong learning as well, inshallah. And the digital platforms, where we've actually got some more information coming up, so I won't talk about that just yet. Just the next slide, please, Mr. Is. If you've got any questions, feel free to pop them into the Q&A. We've got our panel of wonderful heads of learning as well that are ready to answer your queries. So how can you help? Lots of different ways. We said the school relies heavily on a strong school-home partnership to be able to offer the best for our children. And obviously you can read what's there. But I'll just talk a little bit about the checking in. It's sometimes challenging. I've got teenage children myself, and it can sometimes be challenging to actually find out how your child is coping with their work. But it always pays in investing in being, I guess, patient, having a dose of patience with the children, and being persistent, because you're checking in. It may look like on the surface that it's not making a difference, but it does. So please continue to take interest in their learning and your encouragement as well, because if we can use our words to, one, inquire how they're going, but especially if we can defer judgment. Our students can be quite sensitive, so if we can defer judgment as to the results they're getting, and change our tone in terms of what they are achieving. So what are their strengths, and help our children. We want to help our students know what are their strengths and what are their opportunities to grow, and how we can all help them. So again, work with us to help achieve the best outcome for our students, inshallah. And the obvious ones being on time, in uniform. These are just typical things that a standard helps to save time, loss of learning time in the morning. It really does disrupt them and their progress. So please just make sure that they're able to get here early and not just on time, inshallah. just the next slide. Okay, so your need to knows. At the moment, the Q&A, there's not much in there right now. So what is it that you'd like to find out from us? This is your opportunity to make sure you let us know. But again, looking at some of the things that parents from all around the world want to know about their students, about their children, what are they learning? And for that, if for those of you who are familiar with looking at the Google Classroom, each class is represented by Google Classroom as well. So all the information about what the students are learning, the learning intentions, the submission of work through Shobi, there's a lot there that helps make this information visible to parents. So we don't have a parent login, but your child will be able to show you on their device what the actual program for every subject actually is. It's very clearly laid out in the learning journey, all the assessments coming up, and in Shobi, where they have the platform to actually submit all their work and receive feedback. And it's an iterative process as well. So communicating with their teachers. The other things you need to know, particularly around socialization with friends. Often homework can become sometimes unnecessarily long because of students' access to messaging, things that can be a trap for even the adults. Our children are not immune from that. So you need to know how long they should be spending on homework every night. We certainly do not have plans for them to spend 4 or 5 hours a night on their homework, especially not at the year 7 to 10 level, definitely. VCE is a different game, and we will be having a VC information night at another evening. We will advertise that, but it is important that you keep a tab on how much time is actually spent on homework and how much time is spent being distracted from homework. So we are conscious of what we're giving, and we're looking at coordinating how much is spent, but really it can be a very easy trap for our students, any students, to fall into. And also, if you notice any lack of motivation, what can you do to help create those routines? Again, these are life skills, but these may be some of the things that you may be needing to know about. Communication side of it, we intend to continue using the usual formats we've had through videos, webinars, our website, the PDFs, and so forth. But it's really important that the first port of call is when you have a question about your child's learning or any concerns, you need to access your child's teacher. And it's pretty quick and easy. Our teachers are fairly dedicated. So first point is email the teacher. If you need to talk to them, set up a time with them for a one-to-one conference. You don't have to wait for the parent-teacher conferences at the end of the term. But when you actually notice something that's important, please do that. And if your concerns are not addressed, then the second point of call is, if you still need some help, is CC at Siraat. So it's pretty basic to reach out, and then someone will get back to you and send it to the right person.
Israha, just some questions from parents. Are you able to just give a quick rundown as to why we're not able to have the LEAP kids, the LEAP students also, the ILM students also attending the LEAP classes?
Yes, it's quite a challenging task when we're looking at the timetabling. And with our LEAP program and the ILM program, they're both specialist programs. And to coordinate ILM students, we had students from mainstream learning as well as LEAP. And in order to make it a viable option, all of the classes need to be in sync, from those in the mainstream as well as the LEAP classes, to enable ILM for students from any of those to also join ILM. So we did give it a go, but unfortunately it's just not possible we are not able to, not during the school day, we're not able to accommodate that. And we'll be putting together some information for our ILM parents as well that will help explain that further, inshallah. So we had an information session for that towards the end of last year, where we went through what the program will look like year by year, especially for year 11 and 12 as well. So when a person takes on the ILM class, there's a lot of things they won't be able to do that mainstream students can do. So whilst we attempted to make it possible, unfortunately, we found that it just wasn't able to go ahead.
And I think that's an important point, because a number of parents have raised concerns about ILM students not being able to attend other school activities. I'm not sure exactly in relation to the status of the co-curricular period, but in relation to electives and those type of things, we just wanted to mention that the ILM program is a intensive program. So the requirements of that program, we don't want to have a program that fails, and we want to dedicate the appropriate amount of time and resource to that program under the guidance of Mufti Asim, who's architecting that program. And just the requirements in terms of the time is that we need that time during the school day, also giving students breaks as needed because of the intensive work. And the other side of that is that, we're not able to provide all the opportunities that the other students will get, just like the HIFS program. If someone's in the HIFS program, they understand that that's a choice that they're making. They're getting a wonderful opportunity, but at the same time, they're not going to be able to participate in all the activities that all the other students participate in. And also, Mr. Ahat, there was a question around, are you able to clarify, will ILM students be, will they get the co-curricular period?
No, they can't. That time is actually actively being used for ILM teaching. So ILM teaching in itself requires quite a significant amount of time. So already we're well below that. So we've needed to scale that right back. What we need in terms of the support from the families and parents is, yes, these activities are important for the children, but please seek out opportunities outside of school that will help meet those needs. But within the school day, it's not possible for us to get through what we need to get through for ILM, as well as give them all of the electives and offerings that are there for mainstream. It's just not possible for us to get through the what we need to for ILM, unfortunately. But I think I'll talk to Mufti Asim, and we might be able to arrange a special session for ILM parents that are interested in finding a bit more about that, because there may be a lot more questions as well, and that way it can be more interactive. So we'll see if we can find an opportunity for ILM parents to interact with us, inshallah.
And also, I might just add, some parents are thinking, look, anything's possible. I'm sure you can make it work. Did you give it enough thought? The reality is that the timetabling exercise is a balancing act. So we might have, 10, 15 students in ILM. We might have 20 students in LEAP. Then there's another 300 students in secondary. So we try and design a program that will provide the best possible outcomes for everybody. We have common teachers across subjects. We have a common day. So, because I know some parents might be thinking that, well, maybe it could work, but really we tried very, very hard. So I just wanted to clarify that point as well. Mr. Hart, there's a question here about a large class size in year 9, 28 students in the I think some year 8 girls classes may be merged into a year 9 girls class with 28 students. Are you able to?
I'm not aware of any 20 classes of 28 girls. Mr. Viss?
It's class 27. Yeah, 27.
Right. So yeah, Mr. Viss, you can give some more information about that. I don't have the stats in front of me.
Yeah, that class is because the two classes themselves where students have dropped off, so they're pretty small. So we had to join them together. We do have this on occasion. We've had this with the year 8 boys last year, which are going into 9 this year, and again here with the girls. So it is something that we have to do to make the classes viable to run, and so we can, so our resources are not spent on getting two smaller classes, rather getting using that and sharing it among the school as well. This is an exception rather than the rule at the school, but we still, the teaching and learning still goes on in a 27 class as it would in a 16 or 17 student class.
Okay.
I think at this stage, Mr. Rabi will also like to inform the parents just about our VCE
Oh,
results.
yes, that's right. So there were some questions around how our results have fared last year. And we have actually lifted by one point scale in terms of our overall study scores. So overall, that means our students are moving in the right direction in terms of um, the overall scores for all subjects. However, we weren't able to get last year students into the 90s, and I think the highest was about 88.4
Yep.
last year. So whilst it was a disappointing result, it's not the only measure that we use for our students. There are a number of things that we're looking at to help lift those students into the 90s again. It's the first time that that's happened, so we are looking into it. But overall, the study scores per subject, we were able to find, we were sitting on an average of 27, and last year it's lifted to 28. Our target is to move to a study score average of 30, which is a marker of a very robust school. So we're heading towards that, inshallah. With your efforts and the efforts of our children, I think it's important to keep guiding them on that pathway. With that said, it's not only the numbers that are important for us, our children. There's a number of pathways that we help our students get into for further studies as well. And in terms of the career choices, we really help them. Particularly, our school does fall into a special consideration category. So often the universities do lower their ATARs by some points to be enabling our students to get in. So we find our students are able to get into the courses that they need to. But yes, that is an area we're working on. And inshallah, with your help and support, we'll continue to work and continue to improve the rigor of the education that we offer.
Siraat, if I could also add, this was the first year since the VCE program started in 2015 that we didn't get a student or students in the 90s. So schools do have cohorts that vary from year to year. This is not to take anything away from last year's cohort. We are so proud of those students, the way they handle themselves, their character, their learning, their effort. On reflection, some of them realize that they could have been in the 90s, but they themselves realized that they needed to push themselves more. So it's in no way taking anything away from them. And schools do have that variation, but I feel a more important measure is the median study score, which actually shows that if you were to take everybody, how much has the school moved? And the school has moved ahead in its median study score. But that said, we want to be able to have students at the highest level of academic learning. So it's an area that we are working very, very hard on. And it's an area of our major focus this year as well.
And we need your support in this, because not only are the academics important, but we want to see our graduates coming from the school as really good people coming out. And I think last year was it was evident that every single one of our graduates, hand on our heart, we were so proud of. And the people, that the young men and women that they became, we were extremely proud of the Islamic identity that they were holding on to, and their akhlaq, just their mannerisms. And one of my messaging for last year's graduates was, I think you are one of my favorite graduates, and that is for that reason. And I meant it. It was because just the beautiful akhlaq that they displayed means far more than representing them by any given number. And I think that is something to bear in mind, is that's how we work together to ensure that we're not raising children who are arrogant, or they do not know how to interact with society. They don't know how to be part of an inclusive environment. I think it's important that we actually share that adventure of it, and indeed can be quite adventurous at times trying to guide. But I think that's a really, really important point, is what are we after when we're looking at education? Is it only the numbers at the end, or is it far more than that?
And that is why our goal for this year is to raise the bar. And it's not only in year 12, but right from 7 to 12, the staff, the secondary staff is really working intensely to raise the bar, to raise the standard, uh, and try and get our school up there among them. And that is why this is a shared experience. This is a shared adventure. It's not us alone. It's us, it's you, the parents, it's others in the community. We all work together in raising the bar and getting our kids to a level of academic excellence that we be proud of. But also with that comes another level of akhlaq and character building, which we want our students to attain as well. And if we get that balance right, and if we get excellence at both of those aspects, we'll produce almost perfect students, which is what we aim to do in time to come.
Inshallah. There was a question around parent-teacher meetings, if they can have each term instead of two in the year. And for that, what I would suggest is, if you feel the need to see your teachers, more often, then you don't have to wait until the parent-teacher conference festival. You can reach out to a particular teacher, send them an email if you want to discuss progress, anything that you've got any concerns about. The earlier that you notice and reach out to us, I think that's better than waiting even for a parent-teacher conference. Sometimes even waiting that 10 weeks is too long. So if you do notice something, please reach out to us so we can work together to resolve it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I don't think there's any more questions. So, this is next slide.
No, that's it.
Okay, well, I think we've come to the end of the presentation. So if you do have any further questions, as we said before, your first point of call is a classroom teacher. And if you have further inquiries after that, please send us an email at cc@alsirat, and we'll endeavour to get back to you fairly quickly from that, inshallah. But I'd really like to thank all of you for taking the time out today to listen in and send us your questions, and please continue to interact with us so that we can actually work together to improve the education for our children, inshallah.
Yeah, what I may do is that I may just keep this webinar running for the next 9 minutes. If anyone else has any questions they want to add to the Q&A, they can do so, and it'll end at 8 o'clock.
Sure.
Also, Mr. Vce, I just wanted to mention the college has made a significant investment and effort in relation to digital learning, and part of that is giving students a authentic audience and giving students a voice. So I might just share my screen here.
Yep.
And just go onto our YouTube channel. So you'll be getting a weekly newsletter, but we actually now do most of our content through our YouTube channel. So if you have a look in relation to our videos and our playlists as well, even our newsletters are now being done in a way where we actually have students giving the news report. We have important community messages like COVID messages being given by students. There are a multitude of videos which allows students to have an active voice and have a genuine audience as well. There's a lot of Islamic content there as well. There's a lot of content, and especially as a minimum, I really would encourage everybody to have a look at the weekly or the fortnightly, I believe it's fortnightly news report that comes out. So the first one is just about to come out, for this year, inshallah. And also, we also have a very active website in relation to, our news and our gallery. So if you go to the gallery of our website, you'll see many, many albums there. Mashallah, we just recently opened up our shade cell structure. In fact, a member of parliament is attending tomorrow to visit the school. So these are some other photos that are there. So you will find many, many photos on our website of, welcome to term one. You'll find many, many photos, and each album is a story of the experiences that students are having. So I just thought I'd let you know, and especially that fortnightly community news report. It's another way of us showing interest in our in the school and in the students' education. Jazakallah khair. So I'll just stop sharing that. Okay. So inshallah, we'll finish off, Mr. Viss, and you'll just leave the webinar open.
Yeah, I just want to respond to one question, and it says, and this is about like that in every teacher-parent meeting, teachers normally have the same concerns to share, and our concern is that they don't um, communicate with the parents during the course of the term. And that's a very valid point, and we take that on board, and we are our teachers will be communicating with you quite frequently with regard to the academics of your child, and you'll find that Ms. Fatima and the student support department will be uh, fairly active in this regard as well, keeping you in the loop of what's going on and informing you if there's a need if there's need to meet and to discuss your child's education or to find out why their performance is dropping. We have we have raised the bar to 65% being the minimum mark that we're looking for in terms of student achievement. And in that regard, we will be speaking to students who drop below that 65%, and in need be, we'll be speaking to parents as well with regard to what can we do to raise the standard of the student to that level and higher. So just definitely our communication with parents will be very much improved during this year, and not only at parent-teacher conferences. Yep, I think there's no other open questions. I think I'll end it there, but just I will be always open for parents to contact us if you have any questions. The teachers' email addresses are the most important thing to use. I think emails will get faster results, and the teachers will always get back to you with regard to that. And if there's a need to arrange a face-to-face meeting, then we'll arrange that as well. But be rest assured that communication will be open between parents and, well, both ways. Even parents checking on the children, please send an email at any time to find out what's going on and so on. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you staff for also being there and answering the questions. And this recording of this webinar will be on the website if you need to refer to it at any later date. Thank you all and have a good night. Good night.
Thank you. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Subhanallah wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you, Mr. Viss.